that's why I wanted to talk about Michael Batista as well. And we're going to get into that video here. I talked about a UFO landing. That's right. Magic Mike Batista came on the Ross Coultheart show and shared some video of what appears to be what he states is a UFO landing. Now, Mike Batista is a part of the Skywatch team, and he's been known in the psionics community for a while as being an individual that has the ability to communicate, somehow control whatever these UAP are. This video, Ross Coultheart shared while having Michael Batista on his show, he states is a UFO landing. And there's been some highly edited versions of this where you can see it even better, but I think this is a pretty good version. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of this interview with Coultheart and then this actual apparent UFO landing. Let's take a look.
Doing it. Went dormant for a year, completely strange. And then it was March 15th, 2021. It was like the day my life changed and will never be the same. I was at home. I was on the phone with a friend of mine. I was just in my backyard just looking up. And I look up and there's this blue mist pretty high up in the sky, but you know, not that high up, like not like a satellite. It was a blue mist and there was this transparent cube in the mist, which I snapped a picture of as well. And that was the start of this journey.
So just talk to that blue cube for a moment, Mike, and talk about it for me.
Yeah, so it was just hovering, just stationary in the sky, and it looked like the cube inside was transparent, and it was kind of moving like this, and then it just kind of drifted and faded away. And I was on the phone, so I was like, I told him exactly what was happening, and then I didn't think much of it. I just thought it was cool, until the next day, and then the next day, and the next day, where I was consistently being visited by this phenomenon daily since then. And it was almost like they showed up and like, hey, we're not leaving. Like, we're here. Like, the faster you get over it, the faster we can get back to business type thing.
So when you say that there was that level of communication, that level of messaging, were you actually hearing a voice in your head? How was it communicating with you?
Well, that type of communication, had to be built over time. It didn't just come, the first time I saw one. It's like the responsiveness and asking for validation for certain things. It's almost like they teach you the language to communicate with them with. And, I'll like project a thought out, like in an attempt to communicate. And even now, like I'll feel like I'll get a response back in words, and not particularly my voice, but it's been validated when I get these confirmations. And even now still, I struggle. Like, is that my imagination? Am I just making it up? Or, but when they show up, when they do what you're asking them to do and inviting them to do, there's your validation for that.
So when did the landing incident occur?
Well, there were several of those. The one they're revealing today, that occurred in April of 2023.
So talk me through how that came about. What was happening? Why do you think that this alleged landing of what I say this with a laugh because it is just such confronting imagery, what we're about to show the public. It is extraordinary. How did this happen?
Well, this is after a year and change of just being outside every night, like interacting with the phenomenon and building that relationship, but still not understanding my purpose in this or why they're visiting me, almost like loitering. And I want to say harassing, but they're like, hey, we're getting his attention by any means. So, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, why is this happening to me? Like, what do you want? You guys are showing up every day. We're doing this. Like, you come in close, but for what purpose? Like, if you're this hyper intelligent species, this non-human intelligence, that's way far more advanced than us, than just land. I was like, do it. Like, are you too scared to land? I was almost antagonizing, the connection in my mind, and because I was frustrated. I didn't know why this was happening, and I didn't think they were going to do it, and they called my bluff, apparently.
So the Green Beret called their bluff, and they called your bluff because they did. What happened? Talk me through what happened.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the sky, and very clear night. And after expressing this frustration, I see something very high up in the sky, like you see like a satellite or something, but it was blue, and it was going by overhead, and it ejected something out of the back of it. And it had its own like light source, almost looked like a shooting star got ejected out of the bottom of an orb.
Mike, at this stage, you're holding your phone up, a cell phone, and you're filming what you're seeing, correct?
Yeah, I believe that was shot on a Galaxy.
Okay. What did they say to you about your dog? Tell me that story.
So, again, it was like infant stage of NHI communication. And, I asked them to land, and then I instantly got this thought response back in my brain saying, we'll land, but only if you put your dog away in the crate. And I was like, oh, that's a strange request, because I usually my dog has seen more aliens than anybody. Okay, he's always with.
So if you want me to put my dog away, that means you're worried about my dog. Why are you worried about my dog? Are you going to try something? My dog going to have to defend me from something? So why would they request that, first off? And then second, would you obey that? Tell me in the comments if NHI said, we'll show you, we'll come land, but you got to put old Skipper back in his kennel. Let me know in the comments if you would do it.
Always with me. And, but he's Belgian Shepherd, Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherd mix. And,
they're a very big, fierce dog. They're used by a lot of people in special forces, but they're
Absolutely.
A terrifying animal, aren't they? They're a very fierce
Absolutely.
dog.
So I was like, all right, sorry, dude, you have to sit this one out, so I brought him back outside, and then that's when something ejected out of the bottom, and then you could see it slowly, coming down until it just started to get closer and closer. And then, once it got in proximity of me within 100 feet, as it was closing in, it did something to me that affected, affected me physiologically in a way that almost made me docile or compliant, which I thought was strange. Almost like not a dreamlike state or a trance, but like it was way too casual for me at the time to be seeing that happen.
Well, you're about to have a close encounters of the fifth kind. You're about to meet, allegedly, something non-human. I would be pretty excited and possibly a little bit scared. I can hear your respiration on the video. You're breathing far more quickly than normal, I think.
Trank dart?
Right.
What
and
the fuck?
So when it was coming down and it finally hits the ground, I'm standing there and I'm looking at it. I'm like, what is that? I didn't have a frame of reference, because I hadn't seen something like that yet. So I'm staring it down, and it's staring me down, and then there's also a chicken nearby, and we're all staring each other down. And it almost looked as surprised to see me as I was to it. So
now, Mike, in that freeze and zoom, you see it looks like some kind of translucent white-blue face, but it's not a human face. It's two black dots for eyes. That looks like a sort of a dot for the mouth, and it's a long ovaloid head.
Is it on the ground or still in the air at this point? I can't see the video.
I think it's still in the air at this point. It seems to be metamorphosizing out of nothing.
Right. So as it was coming down, it looked like ethereal, like if they're interdimensional, maybe it was still materializing in the third dimension. And as it got closer, I remember it started morphing like this and pulled one of these, and it was shape shifting into all these different, things. I don't know what they were. You have to take a closer look at it until it turned into something that you would see on a petroglyph, right?
I want to stop you there for a moment. It looks like almost like it's got wings. You see the head, and then you see bluey white protuberances out to each side.
It came down as it looked like a cube with something sticking out the top, and then it started morphing into certain things. And then it turned into something you see on a petroglyph. And then after that, I saw a humanoid looking form of it. And he was like wearing a skin tight metallic purple suit, greenish, grayish, bluish skin. It was nighttime in the camera. And then after that, that's when it appeared as what you're talking about. And in the video, like when I was seeing it in person for the first time, I was like, oh, that kind of looked like an angel to me, because it kind of had like the wings like this and then like a light emanating at the top, like a halo. But as it got closer, it wasn't that, stereotypical, image of an angel you get, when you think of the Bible. It was a solid craft that was lit up in that way.
At this point, is whatever the object is, entity, object, whatever you want to call it, is it telepathically communicating with you?
So at this point, I was in that docile mind frame, and I don't think that it was. I think it was induced almost, because like once it actually hit the ground and I saw how big it was no bigger than 3.5 feet, and it probably didn't want me to come closer. Like Ross, if something landed right here next to me now, I'd probably be more inclined to walk up to it. And see what that's about, but that wasn't a thing.
Wait, okay. So I was joking, but they did. So he's basically implying they made him docile. They made him whatever, like hit him with a digital, an Air Xanax or whatever.
And the fact that I was even able to reach for my phone, I was fighting it. And some of those shots are very shaky. I actually had reached for both phones, and I was trying to see which one looked better, but it wasn't. It was.
Got two phones. One for the UFOs.
It was just so surreal that it's hard to describe and replicate unless you're in that position.
Some kind of what looks like a being. It's got an ovalloid head, small eyes, a mouth. What would it be?
And it had like football head.
Do you think it would be fair to say that it looks like an insect?
Well,
like a praying mantis?
I saw a lot of things that night. That the photo I think you're talking about, if you see the purple, if that's the one, that to me looked like a gray because it was so small. But as the experience progressed, it started to, I saw more than one entity that night, and I did see something that looked like an insect for sure, like a praying mantis.
I'm watching this on real time, and you need to go frame by frame, but what you can see is it kind of moves between looking like an insect, like with that ovalloid football-shaped head, and then it's like the classic grey head, like the Whitley Strieber communion book with the round bulbous head.
I don't know if I saw angels and wings and all that. Did y'all see that? I mean, it does look crazy. Don't get me wrong. It does look crazy. But to say that's an angel with wings or a praying mantis or a gray alien, like it could be all those things. I think that's almost, kind of like projection or conjecture.
Because you see what looked like wings coming out from the side of it. It's quite extraordinary.
I didn't see any wings, did you?
Because you see Strieber communion book with the round.
Yeah, I don't know about. I mean, right here, this guy looks more like a little ghosty on the top, like the two eyes, and then like the ghost spot. I don't know.
Bulbous head.
I'm not seeing, even as they go through it frame by frame. Let me know what you think down in the comments, because I don't know, y'all. I'm not sure if I'm seeing that in there, but there is something there, right? He did say he wanted these things to show themselves, and he did say that he was practically like daring them or whatever to come down, and they looks like they did. And whatever that is, it is something, right? Like that's what's interesting to me. I don't see a praying mantis, I don't see a gray, I don't see an angel with wings, but I do see something very strange. And that to me is what's fascinating. I don't know what it is, but it's something, right? And that's that's pretty crazy. Also, I didn't make up, just to be clear here, I didn't make up Magic Mike Batista. That was the actual name that they put in the notes. Magic Mike Batista. I don't know where that nickname comes from, but I think that's pretty funny. The UFO UAP hearing stuff that George Knapp shared, you know, they don't get much into this new stuff, the psionic stuff and what Skywatch is doing. I know James Fowler left Skywatch, and it will be interesting to see what direction they take now. But yeah, Mr. Batista is an employee there, it appears, and that is a pretty amazing interaction that he recorded. What it is, again, I don't know, but it is definitely something. And I think that's something that would have certainly kind of rocked my world. And for him, it sounds like he's got more video ready to go, because when that interview starts, he's like, yeah, the one we're looking at today is this. And so it sounds like we may be seeing some more stuff from Mr. Batista. I certainly hope so, because again, I'm not shitting on what it is. I'm simply saying I don't think we can draw a conclusion as to what that is, but it is something, and it is very fascinating, and it definitely, if that's legitimate, it absolutely deserves more study. So the one thing the Thread 3 documents do talk about is the transdimensional stuff. And John Lear recently gave an interview. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Gaia or whatever, but they do once in a while have on a good guest, like my friend Eric Hecker, and occasionally they get it right. So this interview they had on John Lear, and I think this is really interesting because John Lear, after all of his years of research and analysis and contacts and everything else, he comes up with some actual locations on the Atlantic where he believes there's, I'm not kidding you, friends, actual UFO like entries to bases. Now, I haven't watched this yet, so we're watching this for the first time together. I had to share this because this is in the United States on the East Coast. You could go and check out one of these sites right now and see if you notice anything strange.
In Monterey Bay, there's a canyon that's deep enough that they can take a nuke sub, go under and enter the Pacific Ocean that's under those 7 western states. And they can go anywhere they want, and all that has to happen on the surface, they dig down whatever the length of the plate is. In the case of Hawthorne, it's 3,400 feet. Sandpoint, it's a little more. Lake Tahoe, you remember when Jacques Cousteau did the deep dive at Lake Tahoe?
Yes.
And when he came up, they said, "What'd you see?" He said, "I can't tell you. The public doesn't need to know about that." Like that. So that
Wow.
tipped us off. And then one thing led to another, and we found out, yes, there is a huge, they built an elevator that goes down. And the reason they did was because the firm that makes all the highly classified weaponage for the U.S. nuclear subs is in that mountain just to the northwest of Hawthorne. They dug a large hole there, 3,400 feet deep, to the Pacific Ocean, and they have a huge underground base. And all I have to do is take this weapon and put it on the elevator and send it down there.
And they got it.
And the sub goes out the Monterey Bay. But it's just outside Fort Ord, and there's always something there because there's a gigantic UFO base outside of Fort Ord.
Right.
This is the Monterey Bay entrance, and at Moss Landing, and it's the Elkhorn Slough that you can look under when you go on Google Earth and find out that, look at that canyon.
Yeah, that angle,
there.
right.
And this is the Malibu one. That's also on the net. Great pictures.
That's a great picture that they took of that. And they still haven't covered it up, I don't think.
No. You don't have to cover up something that nobody believes. So this is Hawthorne, and that's the route that they take direct to Hawthorne, and that's where they get all their super weapon stuff. This is Lake Tahoe, and that's Pyramid Lake.
Pyramid Lake.
There's something at Winnemucca. There's always been something at Winnemucca, and I don't know what it is, but there's always been some kind of classified facility there. This one is Lake Mead. You know, Nellis used to be called the Navy Lake Mead Station.
Underground bases, we've heard about them on the West Coast, running under some of the super classified, highly secured facilities under New Mexico. Now, apparently, we've had them going on for quite some time in the East Coast, large enough to transport submarines hundreds of miles and armaments and whatnot. So fascinating stuff. So we've heard about the missing almost $22 trillion from Catherine Austin Fitts during the Bush administration, and how she was told essentially to just forget about it. And it's $22 trillion with a T, and that was in the 90s. You think about that amount of money. And her theory was a lot of that was used to build this underground system of bases, railways, tunnels. And we're discovering we've always had tunnels or that we've known of out on the West Coast and New Mexico area, California areas. It's always been rumored, especially in those highly secretive bases where they have a lot of tests going on with some of our new highly classified aircraft, and even confirmed and factual in some instances where there's underground bases and railways there, so or tunnels connecting them. So we know that's a thing, and seeing that it's also happening on the East Coast out there, wow. Catherine Austin Fitts may have been onto something here. And, you know, these bases, these things could be all over the country, underneath all of our feet, and we might not even know it. Right, y'all? So we've got Skunk Works with a new killer drone that can be added on to jet fighters. We've got NASA being designated as a spy agency, but remember, that's more for financial reasons than anything else. Just Google NASA spy collective bargaining agreement and you'll see what I mean. I promise. It's worth the read if you're curious about it, or you think all of a sudden NASA's gonna start spying on people. Michael Batista, fascinating video. I don't know what to make of it. Again, I could not make out like a being or a face or a mantis or whatever else Ross Coultheart was saying. I think he said an angel. I didn't see all that, but I did see something, some type of activity that happened directly after he made this request, I guess telepathically with whatever these entities are. I wouldn't put my dog away, but maybe that's why he's Magic Mike and I'm Gabriel Speaks. I'm not putting my dog away.